Thomas Groome defines shared Christian praxis as a group of Christians sharing in dialogue their critical reflection on present action in light of the Christian story and its vision toward the end of lived Christian faith. Now, put another way, shared Christian praxis occurs when Christians think about their respective experiences and actions as Christians in their community and beyond. What are the intentional or deliberate steps one takes across personal, interpersonal, and social spheres? Part of this critical reflection includes looking back to one's past to understand how they arrived at their current or present state, as well as noting those actions or behaviors that aren't conducive to present or future Christian living. But more than simply thinking about one's past, present, and future, and their respective effects on a Christian, shared Christian praxis includes dialogue with others. Only through communicating with others can Christian community develop, and it's within this Christian community that shared praxis begins to take shape. Now, this is important because within such a community, Christians begin to learn from one another, further spurring each other on toward living out the Christian faith. Now, the Christian story that Groome references includes both scripture and tradition. But this story isn't limited to the biblical narrative or stories about God's people and their relationship with God, each other, and those who are outside the nation of Israel. Groome defines story with a capital S as the whole faith tradition of our people that is expressed or embodied. Now, this whole faith tradition encompasses every part of the history between God and God's people, including relationships, interpretations, practices, sacraments, symbols, and holy places. The total sum of the covenantal relationship between God and humanity coalesces under the umbrella of story. The vision that Groome includes in his definition of shared Christian praxis is the response to the story that we just discussed that Christians live out day after day. What words, actions, or behaviors do Christians demonstrate that help establish God's kingdom on earth? Shared Christian praxis is important to Christian religious education because it's not realistic to assume that individual Christians can grow and develop in their faith in isolation. Doing so only allows for one perspective, one understanding, and one interpretation of God, faith, and God's relationship with humanity. By sharing and learning together, Christians benefit from multiple perspectives and can have individual assumptions challenged, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Shared praxis must involve dialogue, though, with other people. True and authentic Christian dialogue is important to Christian religious education because it finds its foundation in love, humility, and faith. The relationship between teachers and learners should be one of openness and trust as these tenets of the faith are unpacked together. Further, we must know the full scope of the relationship that followers of God, both Hebrews and Christians alike, that they have historically experienced in order to appreciate God's promises across time, place, and space. Now, above all, shared Christian praxis must remain true to the Christian story. If contradictory positions are taken by those who are in shared praxis, practitioners will start to fall away, and you lose the sense of this being shared, which, as we've discussed, is so very important in Christian religious education. Shared Christian praxis helps individuals live out their faith because there is shared understanding and support amongst one another. No one comes to a relationship with God or Christian understanding already knowing it all. Learning is necessary, but, as previously shared learning supplements what each person brings to the larger dialogue. Through shared Christian praxis, one's embedded theology can be critically evaluated and reevaluated as necessary. Deliberative theology can emerge from shared praxis, and one can more faithfully grow as an individual as well as part of the larger Christian community.